Forget the resolutions this year. This is how we're going to plan goals that we're actually excited about keeping and creating a day in the life of a day that we actually want without punishing ourselves. Let's enjoy the process, shall we? This episode is part 2 of a Plan With Me goal setting series. And in today's episode, we're going to map out what an actual day in the life of you looks like now, so we can start moving in the direction of your ideal day vision, even if it feels a miles and miles away. Welcome to the Creative Life in Motion podcast, where we discuss creativity, movement, and taking action in life now instead of waiting for the perfect time. I'm your host, Karen Wilson. So let's dive in. If you haven't listened to the first episode in this series yet, I think you might want to go back and listen. Episode 1, we went through a visioning exercise of, that perfect day in the life. And then we looked at, 3 separate categories: mind and body and purpose. And we looked at what's the most important thing that you want to work on with like one thing in each of those categories, so that we can start to bit by bit piece together goal setting in a way that you're actually feeling good on the journey, on the process towards those goals. You get one life, and this is the journey. It's not necessarily the destination. So how can we make it more enjoyable so you get that feeling of success, that feeling of feel good before you even get to that quote unquote goal that you're reaching for? You're enjoying every step. We are going to take stock in where we are. And if you want to follow along, in a link below wherever you're listening to this podcast, you'll get the digital copy of the pages. And I think it's really great to follow along, or just take out a pen and a piece of paper and start just doing these exercises in a blank notebook. You don't need anything fancy to plan. You just need the process. Let's get started on figuring out where we are. I'm following along in the pages of a journal, of a physical copy. Today, we're going to go through the reality, discoveries, and the season that we're in. When we know better, we do better, right? So what I like to do, especially as I'm entering a new season where I want to set more goals, I want to get rid of some things, I do a time inventory, and it's torture. Worse than when you hire a new fitness trainer or a dietitian and they ask you for like 3 days or a week's worth of like a meal journal, because at least you can like be good, right? Don't you find that if you've ever made one of those, it's like the cleanest week ever? Or unless you're my mom. My mom is so funny. She just lives every day to the fullest. And she has a diabetic nutritionist. And that's something that she needed to do every week. She had to check in with her dietitian nutritionist. She would bring her food journal and she wrote everything down. And she was not afraid to say, yeah, I had a treat here and I had a treat there. She was like just boldly herself. Not me. I'm going to a dietitian or hiring a new fitness coach, and I'm like showing them all my, shining stars, and this is what I normally am, because I find that it gives me accountability, right? And that's, it just seems to kind of work better. So I took that concept and I made it into something that is very tangible for a time inventory. Because when I'm working with people, quite often they say, I don't have time to fill in the blank. I don't have time to write that book. I don't have time to start a walking plan. I don't have time to, do my meal prep and meal planning. So I like to say, well, let's do a time inventory and let's see where all of that time is going. And now, before you think, oh my gosh, you're trying to get me to be more productive. No, this is not a judgment thing. This is not a thing that it is designed to make you do more. It's actually designed to help you do less so that you can do more of the things that are on your desired list. And, just kind of change the ratio. It's not about stacking more into your day. It's about doing more of what fulfills you, what fills you with joy, and what takes care of you and what gives you self-care than stacking more on. So let's just dive into that process right now. Okay. The first thing that is necessary is to take out a pen and a piece of paper, and you're going to want to write down everything that you did yesterday. Like, try to go deep into your mind about yesterday. And I say yesterday because I want you to have just a regular day. And if yesterday was like a chaotic day or not a normal day, that's perfect. Because how often do we get those? Those happen all the time. Those are like a part of life. So it's great if you can do like 2, 3, maybe 4 days in a row. If you have like a flexing schedule like myself, it really helps you design a schedule that you like to stick to as well. So I work on different things on different days. And I didn't just come to that realization that that's how I work and process better on my own. It's by doing these types of exercises over and over and over again until I hit that sweet spot of like, oh, that's how I'm most productive. That's how I'm most happy. That's what I could delete and that's what I could delegate. And I just don't need to be doing that anymore. Like, just get rid of doing that activity. Try to account for every half hour. And I know it sounds tedious, but do it for yesterday, do it for today, and do it for tomorrow. Just have 3 days. And tomorrow will be easy because it hasn't started yet. So you can just like document as you're going down through your day. So let's start. I'll share with you mine. I wrote down mine. This was a day in my life yesterday. And this is how an example of how detailed you can be. I got up at 5:20, no alarm. I don't have an alarm. So I just wake up when I wake up. And yesterday was 5:20 a.m. First thing I did was peed. And then I weighed myself. And I know I wrote the book, Be Weightless, Like Your Body, Love Yourself, but I'm not exactly happy with where I am right now. And I think that it's okay to not be satisfied with where your health is and still love yourself. I think they can go hand in hand. I'm finding that out right now. Then I got dressed. I checked how I slept. I have this app on my phone that's connected to my Aura ring, which measures my sleep. And I know how I slept, but I still have to check on the app how I slept. Then I drank 2 glasses of water, brought Tula the Great, our dog. I brought her up for her business in the backyard. I fed her, filled my water bottle, and poured my coffee. Then I came to my desk. I sat at my desk and I did some administration tasks for about 20 minutes. I never do that. That's way out of line for me. I edited chapter 3 of my new book, which writing is supposed to be my first exercise. But yesterday I didn't do my writing first. I dove into work, which I say is a big no-no. So I'm already like, finding things that I need to tweak and change. Then I answered emails. Again, I don't normally do that until after breakfast. So I was infringing on my writing time with work, which is a habit that I will be breaking. Then I drank a protein shake. I did some yoga, had my breakfast. I did a rehearsal of my show, which was like a rehearsal clip. So I do 2 scenes, which takes about 10-15 minutes. And that keeps it fresh in my body because I have a showing at the end of January. Then I scrolled. Yeah, I said that right. I scrolled. I scrolled Facebook for no reason for about 20 minutes. I didn't find anything I liked or wanted to see, or I didn't even comment on anybody's stuff. I just looked at it. Meditation. And then I had meetings. So yesterday I had a 2-hour meeting with a client. And then it was lunch. And then yesterday afternoon, okay, so for my lunch, I took about an hour. I ate lunch and I chatted with my husband. I did some more scrolling. And then after lunch, I did CFO work. So CFO work, it's book work. I call it Money Monday. And that's when I look after all of the finances in our household and our company and make sure that everything is going in the right areas and invoices are done and bills are paid and our budgets are updated and all of that stuff. So I do those. And then I walked the dog at 3:30 and 4:30 I started making dinner. We had dinner at 5:30, cleaned up. From 6:30 to 7:30 last night my husband went to his parents' house. And from 6:30 to 7:30, I scrolled. I did like a couple of things. I commented a couple of things. I don't even like Facebook. I can't even tell you how many times I've deleted it off my phone. And then I end up bringing it back. And I can't even tell you why. I just do it. I think it's a habit. And then from 7:30 to 9:30, I watched Netflix, and that was just so nice. I watched a documentary. It wasn't even really anything that was really interesting me, but it got interesting. It was a documentary about like the taking down or whatever of twin flames. I don't even know how I got on it, but it was the stories of the people were just like really drawing me in. And then I went to bed. No, I didn't meditate last night. See, that's another thing that another habit stack I'm putting into my days. And I'm at about 50% there, but I like to do like an evening right before bed, a sleep meditation. And what I'm really digging right now is digging. Did I really say digging? I did say digging. Does that date me or is that new language that I'm picking up? I don't know. But what I'm really liking right now is like the sound meditation with singing bowls and whatnot. I find that I've been getting like really great sleeps just with like a 10-minute meditation. All right. So now that was my time inventory. Now that I shared that with you, you know a little bit more about me and how I spend my Monday. Just like I said before, this exercise, don't wait. Just sit down and do it. Don't wait until you have a great perfect week. It's important to take stock of what you're doing right now, what your habits are, and there is definitely no judgment. We're human. Now you're going to look at your list and you're going to ask yourself, is there anything that I would like to eliminate or delegate? And also, what are some of the pockets of time that you found? This is what I wrote. It doesn't have to make sense when you write stuff. You just got to get it out of your head so it can start making sense. That's the way I roll with planning. And I find that sometimes people don't start because they don't know what to write. Just write something. It doesn't have to be right. You're not being graded on this. You're just getting moving, right? So eliminate. I'm going to eliminate. I need to, or if I put it in the present tense, eliminate social scroll. Now, that doesn't mean I need to eliminate it out of my life, but I need it more like of a planned spot so that I don't feel the need to just like go there and just find something that I don't even know what I'm looking for. Under delegation, I have nothing to delegate at this point. And I know that a lot of experts will say, delegate as much as you possibly can so that you can do the thing that lights you up. And I disagree. I think that a lot of times we delegate too soon, and we actually need to have our hands dirty in a lot of the things and get to a substantial spot in our business where we have solid systems and solid income coming in to support that delegation, or else you can end up going backwards real fast. That's just where I am right now. That's just my feelings right now. And where I am in my life right now is that I don't feel like there's anything that I need to delegate. And it's definitely not a controlling thing. So there's that. The next I wrote are more eliminations. I'm going to eliminate procrastination and self doubt. And this is another thing. If it doesn't fit for my work, the work that I do, if it doesn't fit under the umbrella of writing, creating, speaking, or health, I'm not going to put it under my umbrella. And I can say no to things that don't fit under my umbrella. So that's something that is new for me. Well, not newish. I mean, I feel like I've been doing this every year a little bit, like deleting more. And I have a tendency to like a lot of things and be really good at a lot of things, which makes it very difficult to narrow my focus in my work. And so that's definitely where I need to really strengthen is saying no more. And that's actually even within my business, within our company. There are some things that I just need to say no to, or not right now, or not feel the need to have to do things like right away, you know, schedule it in. If I really don't have that fit into my time window for the next month, I don't drop everything and try to fit it in that time window. I say, I can't do that right now. I can do it, fill in the blank. And if I can't or I don't want to, then that would be something that would come back into the delegate thing. Delegate it to someone else if there's a budget for it. So if it's not a hell yeah, it's a definite no. Those are my discoveries about finding time. Whenever you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. The next question on this discoveries page is there a possibility of creating a new habit first thing in the morning that starts at 15 to 25 minutes a day, maybe 3 to 4 days a week. So what would that new habit be? And for me, I really like, when I'm not scrolling or getting sidetracked, I really like my habit stack in the morning. It's really been working for me very, very well, but I need to add another step. And the next step is sharing my work consistently on platforms like YouTube, LinkedIn, podcasts, and speaking engagements. And that's something that I haven't been actively doing or pursuing. I'm really great at creating, at getting things done. I actually have 2 more books that I wrote in 2023. They're sitting in rough draft. I created a brand new course on walking. I'm really great at that, but then I lack the I don't know what the word is, but when it comes to sharing them, I quite often will go to that next writing point, or I'll go to that next creative window because that's what I do. I love creating and that's what comes naturally. It's not natural for many artists and creators to share their work, but people don't know how to find you or how to work with you, how to hire you to speak or how to buy your book. They don't even know you wrote a book if you don't get those things out there. And I'm very well aware of that. So it's going to become one of my super stack items. I like to call those morning routines a super stack. When you get to your sweet spot, it really does become the super stack that catapults you towards whatever goal or dream or desire you're working on. If you don't have a system to get there, it's not going to happen because there'll be a billion and one other things that will get on your plate before you have a moment to get that work done. So that's something that I need to add to my super stack. So what's your super stack? If you've been following along, you probably are starting to see what it probably is going to be, but we'll be discovering that on later pages. The next part of this is what's your season? So I'm just going to kind of read this to you from the page. Sometimes struggling with starting is brought on by a change in season of life. So in other words, sometimes, when we just feel stuck that we can't start something, it's because things are different now than they were maybe 2 months ago, maybe even a month ago, maybe even a week ago. Things can change really fast, and it can have you in a point like where you got to dust yourself off and say, well, where am I now? And so sometimes we're forced into this change, and sometimes we're planning for it. We know something is coming up. But this is the one thing that is constant. Change is constant. Season change is constant. There is always going to be something. And so recognizing the change instead of dumping it all together and saying, I'll just get back to this when I have time, that's not the right way. You might be capable of more or less in this season. And so that's the honesty that has to come out of you, is that maybe this is a time in your life where, you might have kids, you might not have kids, maybe you have a busy job, like there's things that are taking up your time. So starting with that realistic time frame, with that realistic knowledge of what your days actually look like, you're not going to end up with time blindness. And time blindness is something where you think you're going to have time to master all of these goals, and you end up falling short, falling flat, and getting depressed, and feeling like a failure. So we're setting you up to win by identifying the season that you're in right now, setting a realistic intention based on your self-review for the upcoming week. I'll share with you, my intention is to adapt to my creative flow, 1 part discipline, 1 part flexibility, and 1 part adaptability. This season for me is focus, letting go of self-imposed timelines and focus in and lean hard to who I am being. My intention is to build out the systems that are in my head that will help me navigate freely in the next chapter, in being there for my family and creating more time freedom. Personally, I'm at that time in my life before grandkids. I have Tula the dog, Tula the great, and she takes, she's a little bit of a higher maintenance dog, so she takes a little bit of my time, fair bit, but I enjoy it. It's very fulfilling. And then there's, our parents. Our parents are needing a little bit more help than they used to. And so I want to be able to give that freely without feeling like I don't want them to feel that they're pulling me away from work. I don't want to give that vibe. I want to have the freedom, flexibility that I'm not going to be stressed out if I miss a day of work because of the pay, so to speak. So that's what I'm building at this point. And that's what my vision is that feeling of abundance and safety and love. And all of those come with, if I do the work, if I share the work that I've done, all of that will contribute to the abundant feeling, if that makes sense. Hopefully some of this and going through this has helped you in your goal setting journey and realization. Like, it's super important to go through these steps. These are the steps that almost nobody does because really it's repetitive. And when should you do them? Every month, every quarter at least, because we kind of, a lot of times we lose sight of where we're going because all of this stuff is always incoming, right? There's always new ideas. There's always new opportunities. There's always something. There's always new challenges, new resistance patterns, new obstacles. They're all going to be there. None of them go away. And it's part of creative life in motion is that you are in motion. And remember what I said in the beginning of video 1 is the planning is more valuable than the plan. In our next episode, we're going to talk about how a busy person actually achieves balance. And I have a really fun exercise planned for that. Again, it's right inside the Ideas in Motion planning system. You can get the digital download pages down below. And if this was helpful to you, make sure that you give it a like. Let me know what you are getting rid of. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks. Bye.